G'day everyone. Just finally a moment to get back behind the computer. I've been way down south and then followed by a heap of venison hunts up here locally with keen recreational hunters. There's a issue that's been probably bugging me now for about 4 years. I actually started making this clip 4 years ago and I shelved it due to concerns of just how it would be seen because it's a very important issue to landowners, and I am, as people know, I am right behind landowners, but I'm also right behind recreational hunters. The trick with this issue, as it is with so many of the others, is how do we get both interests to be able to be compatible? How do we work together on this? How do we cooperate? This clip is about exclusion fences, cluster fencing.
Travelling around North Queensland, the sight of dead roos on the road is just normal. But on this trip up here to Longreach this time, I have never ever seen so many dead roos and emus, wild pigs, never before in my life. Now these fences are very effective at controlling wild dogs. They've got your high mesh up to 6 foot high, with barbed wire on top, 3 meshes on the bottom here on the ground, hinged down, and literally there's not much that gets through this unless they want to start digging way outside the fence. So they're a great tool to stop wild dogs, but they're an even better fence to stop kangaroos. Unfortunately, this is what a lot of this is about up here now. I've talked to a lot of landowners and many of them have said, listen, this is more about roos now than it is about wild dogs. The wild dogs are really impacting on their country, but the kangaroos are probably having an even bigger impact with their competition for stock. Now when you look at it closely, this country up here used to have quite a good kangaroo industry, wild pig industry as well, and there were shooters feeding their families and making a living out of it. Most of that's gone. There's still some small pockets of kangaroo shooting going on, but largely landowners have been left in the lurch, and now we have got more kangaroos than we've ever seen before, to the point where some of the government departments are now starting to look at their own figures, and I think they're starting to realise that they've made an incredible mistake with miscalculation where they've underestimated the amount of kangaroos that are out there. So what we've got now is the situation where landowners have to do something. They've got to renew fences, so instead of putting up a typical old-fashioned fence that the kangaroos would bounce straight over and the dingoes would go under, they're putting up structures like this, and they're doing some of these in clusters where there's sometimes 11 or 12, sometimes up to 20 landowners will get together and form big corridors where they'll actually fence multiple properties off in what they call a cluster. What's happening with that though now, any migratory animals, like you say your red roos that migrate through this country, they get up against a barrier like this and they can't get through. Now it's well known that the emu and the kangaroo are two species that can't go in reverse, and you see a kangaroo get up against a fence like this, once they hit it they don't turn around and go back for water. If they hit a fence like this, they'll keep running it till they either go over it, through it, or they die. Now when, like now, it's a time of really bad drought, landowners are really doing it tough up here. There's very little surface water, so a lot of these animals are migrating through where they've done since the dawn of time, heading for the different river systems and the dams and bores, and they're running up against this and they are dying in their hundreds of thousands. People really should get up here, get in your vehicle, take the time, come up and have a look in the north and see what is happening at the moment. And when landowners put in these barriers like this and the number of properties get together, you might have 50 k's of fence here that nothing can get through. Don't go blaming the landowners. They've been forced into this situation by government policies that won't allow them to make a quid out of the kangaroos that are running on their properties. I can understand landowners have got so peeved off with the situation that has been forced upon them that they really never want to see another kangaroo. Others have been really good and they say, listen, we want to see some nice, sustainable, sensible population of kangaroos within our country. They love them. Good on them. But others are literally just so sick and tired of it that they want everything gone, and you can understand that. So what we're seeing with these big cluster fences now, they're actually nearly creating a monoculture where we've just either got all cattle or all sheep and nothing else. And this is the way of the future. And I'm trying to say to hunters, wake up to yourself, because if it can happen here with a government-sponsored program, or what we're seeing as well as local council, local government-sponsored programs where people are paying these fences off over a number of years, and some landowners have said to me that the cost benefits, they can pay for a fence like this in less than 10 years in what they save from the impacts of kangaroos and the impacts of wild dogs. So they're very economic. They make good economic sense to put a fence in like this for landowners. So what if this happens now in the fallow deer country, in the red deer country, the chital deer country? So for you as hunters, how does this affect now your wild pig areas? Start thinking about it, because very soon shooters will be obsolete in a lot of this country. Recreational hunters will be obsolete. And the animals that are kept behind here, wild deer, they're not going to be wild deer anymore. They're going to be game ranch deer. They're going to be captive, fenced-in deer, similar to, say, a lot of the wildlife in South Africa. Recreational hunters now have got a choice. Get out there and get behind some of these landowners. Get behind some of these projects we've got where we're working with landowners to keep wild, free animals wild and free. Because otherwise, this is the future. What you're seeing here is the way it's going to go.